all the gear, lights, and equipment and everything that you have will not keep you consistent when it comes to recording every day. There's so many things that come into context when you start to put out content consistently that unless you have a system or a workflow that makes it easy for you to produce content, it's going to be very difficult for you to keep up that streak. And today I'm going to go over some of the ways that you can overcome inconsistent recording. Specifically when it comes to filming your content, sometimes the easiest way for you to get over that hurdle is to just make sure your setup is simple and you can use it in a way that makes you stay consistent. Just like inside the gym, the most complex routines will not work for you if you cannot keep doing them. So no matter how many different steps or workout ideas or tips or whatever you have that you put inside your schedule, unless you can stick to it, it doesn't matter. And the same thing comes for filming your content. So I'm going to show you very simple setups so that you can at least continue to record consistently and produce content. So the first reason why people don't record consistently is because they think they have to do a lot with their setup. And so for me, I have one big giant light in front of me, and I have my camera right here in front of me, and I have my mic attached to my camera, and it makes it so that it's super simple for me to record. Let me show you what that looks like. So as you can see, I have my camera right here. I have my light right here. I have my tablet that shows me a preview of what it is I'm looking at. And I have everything I need in place so that I can continue to record my footage. And so with monitoring and the cameras, it's very simple setup. I can do it consistently because it's easy. Now, when you start to do the same setup over and over, the next issue is that will the audience get bored of watching me do the same video in the same place? If your content is always going to be the most important part of your video, so they're not going to worry so much about the background or everything else as long as the message that you have is good. So keep working on the messaging and everything else, and then leave the recording setup the same. That way you can at least get over that hurdle of creating content. Now, the second thing is, once you start getting consistent with a setup space, then that consistency leaves room for your brain to think of new places to record in. So I've tried recording outside. I've tried recording in different areas in my house. I've tried doing different reels in different spaces because I've already developed that cadence of a simple place for me to record. And so if you're constantly overwhelmed of where should I record, what my setup should look like, then the easiest thing you can do is at least get started recording somewhere the same place and then build from there. As long as your content is good, no one's worried about where your setup is or your location. So at the very least, build the muscle to just show up consistently first. Then you can add razzle dazzle and pizzazz and everywhere else you want to record. That way it makes it a lot easier for you. Now, after you've already started doing the same setup and you get used to recording consistently, the next thing that people do is they overthink what it is that they want to talk about. Now, if you think of all the conversations you've ever had in your lifetime, you don't remember all of them. There's so many. There's so many contexts, there's so many layers, there's so many things that you might have said to somebody at some point, and you should treat your content the same way. Every time you turn on your camera, it's something that's top of mind right now that you're thinking of. And if you're already working in your field all the time, you should have plenty of things to talk about. And all you have to do is wrap the message with the context that you want to talk about, and that's going to be your hook. And then the rest of it is just supporting that hook. So I started this video with how do you record consistently? And then I talk about, well, it doesn't matter how amazing your setup is or all the things that you got going on. The most important part of your content setup is to make sure that you have a consistency plan in place so that you can at least stay consistent. As I mentioned with that, if you're dealing with recording inconsistently, then you're already going to be hooked on. If you're not, then the video's not for you, and that's the point. The point of the whole thing is just to make sure that the beginning is what people should be in store for. And as long as you get that correct, then you're going to help people. Now, you can make it more interesting if you want to do like 3 things that I always have in place before I record every video. Then people might be like, oh, well, maybe I want to have that. Or you can make it even snazzier, like if you don't do this, your recordings will explode, or whatever adjective you want to use. But like, I don't really care for those clickbaity kind of hooks. I would prefer to just keep it, truthful, authentic. At the same time, I believe that when you get used to doing your hooks and you start getting used to a type of content you want to put out, then the rest of the stuff becomes easy. The more you overthink it, the harder it becomes to stay consistent, because every day you're like, man, I need to find a new idea. Oh, I'm not sure what's trending. Is this going to be good enough? Is this going to be like the best content for me? And the best thing you can do is just talk about what it is that you're working on right now, how you can benefit, and someone else on the other end of watching that video may be going through the same problem, may also want to tag along and see what solution you came up with, because you may have a different way that you stay consistent, and you might chime in into the comments and say, hey, I stay consistent by writing out my scripts ahead of time, or I batch my content. So all my content is, prepared the day of, so that I don't have to think or use that brain power on what it is I'm going to talk about. I like to use content pillars. So I like to talk about the strategy around content. I like to talk about motivation around content. And I like to talk about, ways that you can use tools to make content easier. So right now I have my iPad. I use the monitor and control app for Sony, and I'm able to monitor what my cameras are seeing without me having to see that flip screen and make sure that I'm in frame and stuff like that. And I like to dial in the settings on my camera and save it so that every time I'm in my room, I just have the same settings set up, so I don't have to overthink what the settings option looks like. And so with those, it makes it so that even if I take my camera out elsewhere to go videotape other clients, when I'm back in my room and I need my setup, I have that dialed in already. And so not having to expand, bandwidth to remember my settings and how to do all this stuff, it makes it a lot easier to just keep going because I already have that handled. And so the third thing that I see people who don't put out content consistently is that fear of judgment. And not so much that someone's going to hate on you or that they're going to dislike your videos, but it's just, how does it compare to what's currently out there? How will my video be viral? Will it be a hit? Will it be something that, other people are going to watch and enjoy? And the best way to look at this is that content is a marathon. You can have some good hits, you can have some good wins, but the most important thing is that you keep going regardless of the results. You don't have to use every video as a marker of success or failure, because it's going to be the conglomerate of videos over a period of time that's going to show you the results. Like right now, as I'm creating my content, I post anywhere between 1 to 4 videos a day, and I've been seeing 10% week over week growth. And if I keep growing at 10% every week, then in a year and a half, 18 months, I'll get to 1 million followers across all platforms. And this week I'm at 500. And so the most important thing in this case is just to be consistent. Like, I'm not the funniest guy, and I don't have the best hooks, and I don't do all the gimmicky things to make people watch. My claim to fame that I want it to be is just to be consistent and to be authentic. And when I'm able to do those kind of things, it makes it easier for me to keep making videos, because that's just where my lane is. And so once you get to the point where you have the basics already down packed, if you're no longer afraid to be on camera, when you begin that cadence of creating those videos, it becomes so much easier over time to keep producing. And it's just a matter of time until you break through that ceiling. Stay consistent. As long as you stay consistent, you'll continue to break through that ceiling, no matter how slow or fast your growth is, because everyone's growth trajectory is different. But the hardest part is in the beginning, and that's when you need the most consistency. Because once you have momentum, consistency becomes easy. You get to see the growth analytics, you get to see all the changes happening and more people following, and it gets exciting and stuff. But in the very beginning is where it's the most important to develop those habits, that consistency, so that you can get past that hump of being new. Because if you don't already know, newer accounts, like if I follow somebody who has 100 followers, I really have to like what that person is putting out, because there's no proof that other people like it. And sometimes you don't want to be the weirdo to be the first one to like this tiny account. And I'm grateful to all the people who are taking that chance and seeing, okay, well, this guy's videos are kind of cool, I'll go ahead and follow them. So like, people are doing that for me, I'm grateful. And the best thing I can do for them is to continue to show up and keep making videos and keep popping out responses to questions they might be having. Respond to my comments, show up, and like, just be grateful. And so at the point where I start getting more momentum and more people follow along and seeing what it is I'm talking about, it's gonna just get better from there. And so my biggest recommendations for people who struggle with just recording consistently is to not overthink it. So keep your recording setup the same until you build that muscle where it's no longer a big hill to just start recording. Then 2, talk about what it is that you're working on or going through at that moment in relation to what it is that you're selling or what it is that you're working on. So as I'm a content producer who produces content for other people, and I'm now doing it for myself, I'm now feeling what it feels like to be on the other end of the camera. Whereas I'm usually recording, now I'm being recorded. So I can at least speak to the difficulties in coming up with a good message or just delivering it consistently and all the other things that make good content good content. And so the last step is that you stay consistent until the momentum picks up. And content is usually an exponential curve where the hardest part's in the beginning, but as you get used to it, as you start getting momentum and traction, you start to grow exponentially at that point. And so don't worry, it'll get better in time. You just have to build the muscle. Once you stay consistent, it starts getting easier to do newer and different things and find your real lane. So just do what you feel is right at first. And as you continue on, you'll get better and better over time. It'll look weird, it'll be cringy, but that's kind of the point. Because once you figure out your lane, then you'll start to grow from there.